This is the new Rodecaster Video, an all-in-one portable video mixer with powerful audio features, a huge amount of options for graphics and overlays, and even automatic camera switching based on who's talking. This is Rode's first venture into a video-focused product rather than an audio-focused one, of course. And we're all pretty excited. They really seem to have taken the time with this to look at what is actually important to the market and try and build on the weaknesses of those existing products out there. Because whether they're from Blackmagic, Roland, OC, Atem, nearly every portable video mixer on the market has quite limited audio functionality and quite limited graphics or ME support. And both of those are areas which Rode has not just focused on here, but really tried to reinvent and redesign. So let's start with audio, as obviously that's Rode's main area, and I'll pass over to Nathaniel as he has much more experience with live streaming products than I do.
Make no mistake, the audio side of this is really impressive. And this should come as no surprise really, considering Rode's track record with audio. Essentially, this video switcher has a Rodecaster Duo inside. This means that it has the same quality preamps that can be found in the Rodecaster series, and all of the audio processing features as well. It has two Neutrik combo inputs for connecting any XLR microphone, instrument, or audio source, which is definitely a step up from some other portable switchers in this price point that typically only have a 3.5mm mini jack input. But just like the Rodecaster Pro, this has an inbuilt dual channel receiver for connecting Rode wireless microphones. That means you can connect a combination of the Wireless Me, Wireless Go 2, or Wireless Pro system, allowing you to have up to 4 wireless transmitters, which is great. And a standout feature, in my opinion, is that it can also connect a Rodecaster Pro audio mixer over a single USB cable to have a full audio and video control panel side by side while still being really portable.
One area which we've always found a bit limiting on portable switchers from any other brand is graphics and ME support. Now, if you don't know the term ME, it means mix effect, but it's just a way of saving different split screen layouts really as a source which you can cut to instantly and easily. Now, many more software-based mixers like vMix and OBS, or even hybrid systems like TriCasters, are built around their ability to do lots more ME functions than more traditional hardware mixers, which would normally be more limited to maybe a few graphics overlays like a logo, for example, and picture-in-picture support where you have one small box that you can move around. Now, Blackmagic sit a bit more in this camp. Their mid-range switchers are priced depending on whether they offer 1ME or 2ME, and their Atem mini products have what they call Super Source, which is effectively an ME system, but it's a bit more limited when it comes to saving different layouts, but it is quite powerful when designing one big layout. Here, Rode have taken all of that and they've just simplified it into what they call scenes. We have 7 scenes which are represented by this top row of letters. I mean, this is something you don't normally see physical buttons for on other portable mixers. And by default, these do nothing because of course you haven't set them. But you can just save all the different layouts that you design onto them to be cut to while live, just by simply holding down on each button to save it. So if we want to cut from a single camera to a 2-up, it is a simple button push. Or a 3-up maybe with a large screen above for a laptop presentation. No problem. This is something we use all the time in our own live streams, and it's an incredibly common request when working with live streaming clients, like corporate conferences for example. This is one of the simplest and most straightforward systems that I've ever used. You can either control this on the mixer panel itself with the small touchscreen, or on a connected laptop with the Rode Central app. To be honest, I'm actually really surprised that it's been an audio company like Rode to be the ones to push this graphic video area forwards for portable mixers. This is really impressive stuff and it's very well designed. But it isn't the only graphics options available, of course. We also have a bunch of other things like media button for pulling media from pre-recorded video clips from the SD card. And then there's overlays, which is for things like company logos or lower third titles. And you want those to be laid over the top of your video, no matter what you're doing, cutting between the main inputs underneath. Then there's also chroma keying and more traditional picture-in-picture support here as well. So there's a lot going on here, which is great to see because it's features like these that are really going to help up the production value of your work and help impress your clients.
One area that we can see customers being quite excited by is the new auto switching function. Essentially, you can assign different microphones to different camera angles and different scenes with varying levels of priority. What the mixer will then do is it will switch between those angles based on the audio it detects. This will be great for podcasting where it could automatically switch between whoever's speaking while also integrating other camera angles like a wide shot to keep things visually engaging. It's quite easy to set up too. Once connected to the Rode Central app, you'll want to select the auto switching tab where it will give you some information about the priorities and how to actually turn on auto switching. First, you set up the preferences for switching. Activate the function by pressing and holding the auto button. It will turn blue when active, and then pressing any other button will disable it. So if we set up a quick example with Liam and myself, in a similar style to how we do things on our Pro AV live streams, we've got one camera on me, one camera on Liam, and then a wide shot with the two of us. And what I'll do first is turn on camera 1 for me and set the priority to high in this test. Then I'll link my microphone, which is wireless 1. For camera 2, which is Liam's camera, I'll turn that on and also set that priority to high and link Liam's mic, which is wireless 2. For the third camera, that's our wide shot, I'll turn on camera 3 and I'll set that priority to low because I don't want it to cut to this that much. But for the audio, I'll link my mic and Liam's mic so when we're both speaking, sometimes it can cut to the wide to mix things up. Once that's all done, if I press and hold the auto button, it will begin auto switching based on those settings. And while I'm connected wirelessly to the mixer using Rode Central, for this next part, I won't touch anything so you can see exactly how the auto switching function is actually working.
So it's worth noting that during this test, we're actually using the Rode Wireless Pro mics with two lavs connected. We don't currently have the receiver turned on as both transmitters are connected wirelessly to the Rodecaster video.
Yeah, and I can see this setup being useful for a wide range of people, particularly for podcasting or people that produce their own content. Basically useful for people that do a lot of multitasking.
This could save a lot of time during recordings and post-production as well.
Another area that's new on the Rodecaster video is the inspect button. And what that does is it places the device into a safe mode where you can tap on any button and view what's on that input source without actually cutting to that feed during the live production. Once enabled, any button you press will be viewable on the preview monitor. In this mode, you can reconfigure any of the inputs or even swap any of the button locations depending on your workflow. I can see this being particularly useful in the instant cut mode where there isn't a dedicated preview screen on the multi-view. In this mode, when you press the inspect button, it temporarily displays a preview screen for you. I can see some users keeping the mixer in this instant mode so that they can quickly cut between sources whenever they want, but then if they ever need to preview something or make a quick change, they can do that via the inspect button. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. But let's talk about the physical unit itself. In the box, you get one USB-C to USB-C data cable, 2 external antennas, and 1 USB-C power supply. In the ideal world, we'd like to see a locking connector here, like the one that was on the original Rodecaster, but having USB-C is really convenient. And then if we take a look around the unit, on the back there's a screw thread for external antennas on either side. This lets the unit connect to Wi-Fi for wireless device control and streaming, which is really useful. And then there's a power button and a USB-C power delivery slot. Next to that, there's an Ethernet and a micro SD card slot, just like the Rodecaster Pro. Besides that, there's actually 5 USB-C ports. The first one is for primary video output and for multi-track audio. Plugging in here and connecting to a computer will allow the device to be used in video conferencing software like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, along with live streaming software like vMix and OBS, for example. The second USB-C port is for device control through the Rode Central app. The third USB is for connecting external USB storage devices for recording, which is really handy. The Rodecaster video by default will record the program output feed, but you can toggle it to ISO record all the inputs in the menu here if you plan on re-editing things later. The fourth and fifth USB-Cs are actually inputs for connecting webcams and Rode USB microphones, so they can expand on what you get from the HDMI ports and audio inputs. It's actually these two USB slots that will let you connect to one of the Rodecaster audio mixers via USB, which we mentioned earlier. Next, there are 4 HDMI inputs and 2 HDMI outputs. The inputs will accept 1080p signals, and the 2 outputs can be configured to show either the multi-view, preview, or program feed. Then, if we move over to the audio ports on the device, it has 1/4-inch outputs for connecting to external speakers or monitoring via headphones. And then it also has Neutrik combo jacks for connecting microphones and instruments. If we flip the unit over to the front, you'll see that it has a nice, simple design. The first thing that caught my eye was the little 2-inch touchscreen on the bottom right of the mixer. For this touchscreen, you can access all of the settings that you need to configure the device to the way you want it. And I must say, the fact that the menu is built in means that there's less of a need to constantly be connected to the Rode Central software via a laptop, like some other switches. And if you need to adjust particular settings, on the top right, there are 2 control dials, one for the touchscreen menu and the other for the headphone and speaker output volume. On the top left, there's a stream/record start-stop button and a number of large buttons on the bottom. The bottom row works just how you think it would, allowing you to select any of your inputs. By default, the mixer is set to instant mode, which means whichever number you press, it will instantly switch to that feed. However, in the menu, you can toggle this to studio mode if you'd like to preview the feed first before cutting to it, which is definitely my personal preference. The top row, however, labelled A to G, represent the 7 media effect scenes, and there's also 4 function buttons that Carl mentioned earlier. Pressing this button will do a quick fade to black, and then there's the cut, auto, and the inspector buttons on the right. Now, we can foresee a lot of customers being curious about the differences between the new Rodecaster video and the Blackmagic Atem Mini lineup, particularly the extreme ISO, as they are on a similar price point and offer some different options. I think an easy distinction to make is that if you're working within the wider Blackmagic ecosystem, using Blackmagic cameras and editing in DaVinci Resolve, then using an Atem Mini has some great benefits. During your recording or stream, you'll have camera control that will let you adjust settings like ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and white balance, all from the Atem software, which can be quite handy. And then when you're done, the mixer creates a DaVinci Resolve project file where you can essentially remix the live cut that was recorded. And instead of only using the 1080p H.264 ISO recordings generated by the mixer, you have the option to relink high resolution recordings captured in camera to have the maximum resolution later. You do get ISO recordings on the Rode, but they're just not as advanced as that. Then there are some other differences like having macros with the Atems and a locking power cable, although there isn't an on and off switch. If you prefer SDI workflow, then Blackmagic have SDI versions of their Atem Minis, which the Rodecaster video doesn't currently have. When it comes to customization of the video outputs, Rode lets you change the 2 HDMI outputs to either being a program, preview, or multi-view feed, whereas the Atem Extreme lets you select any of the video inputs and send them out of the 2 video outputs, which is quite nice. On the other hand, the wireless control of the Rodecaster video via the Rode Central is really powerful, and I can see a lot of customers operating their mixer like this without actually needing to be connected to a computer via USB or Ethernet. Now, Blackmagic have made some great improvements to the audio side of things over the years, especially with their Fairlight control and the introduction of some professional connections like MADI and XLR on their Atem HD8 lineup, for example. But having said that, Rode have specialized in audio for a long time, and the audio side of things on the Rode is much more capable. And as Carl mentioned earlier, the graphic side of things here is really impressive too. And speaking personally, as a frequent Blackmagic user myself, I do wish they would add some of these features to their units.
So who is this new Rodecaster video really for? Well, on the surface, I think it's really tempting to say that it's for people who are relatively new to video mixing and multi-camera work because it's designed around being simple and approachable to use. Perhaps people creating things like podcasts, who might of course already be using Rode products for the audio side and might just want to add video to their productions. This is a perfect fit for that kind of customer. Rode have clearly had that customer in mind when designing it, especially with features like the automatic audio-based input switching. So if that sounds like you, this is easy for us to recommend. But it is definitely capable of much more than that. This might be more approachable than a Blackmagic Atem Extreme or a Roland switcher, but I don't think I'd say it was less professional than those. If you're a small production company and small live streams for corporate clients or churches or events are a frequent part of your income stream, there is a lot here which is going to be really tempting for you. The graphics features are going to bring lots of value to your clients, and the audio side of things is much more comprehensive. I can really see a lot of people liking that and see people using those built-in wireless receivers. They look great. All in all, this is a really impressive first step from Rode into this market. But what do you think? Can you see yourself using this for your work, or would you stick with Blackmagic or Roland or one of the others? Let us know in the comments, and the Rodecaster video is of course available to buy now from ProV. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.